Hey all, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our hands-on review of the Sonic Grace K2. This is an Android-based smart internet radio that has a 8-inch touchscreen display. So you can think of it as a tablet that's built into a speaker and can't be removed. With stereo speakers and a passive radiator, you can also use it as a Wi-Fi speaker, a Bluetooth speaker, in addition to just a tablet. So it has many use cases. Sells for $199. That's pretty competitive with the Aurotech Stream Pro that we saw a few months back, which is very similar. Also has a smart Android touchscreen along with a speaker, except this version here is even more portable by putting the screen in between the speakers. The packaging here is pretty simple. It comes with 8 gigs of built-in storage. You can expand that using a micro SD card, I believe. Also comes in a few different colors because there is actually a fabric overlay for this grills of the speaker itself, which I think is pretty cool. This is just the black version, but it also comes in red, blue, and brown. Other specs on the side here. So the screen itself has a 800p resolution, so similar to 720p or HD resolution, has built-in Bluetooth, has built-in Wi-Fi, and there's a 12,000 milliamp hour battery, which should last for about 10 hours before you need to recharge it again. Inside the packaging, we have just this speaker right on top, along with a auxiliary 3.5mm cable. If you do want to use this as a wired speaker for whatever reason, it does offer pass-through. And there's also a AC adapter in addition to the micro USB charging cable, so 2 ways to provide power and to sync it with a computer. We also have a user manual here, troubleshooting tips, and a warranty card. So here's the design of the Sonic Grace K2, and I have to say it looks really classy. We've have a real leather kind of handle here that gives it a throwback vibe. We have this real fabric material that covers up all the grills, and we have some basic labels on the side, hi-fi wireless streaming speaker, and all the ports, including power, charging, 2 USB ports, micro SD card slot for directly playing back MP3s if you have it loaded onto a memory card, micro USB, and the auxiliary for a wired connection, and then that big touchscreen display on the top here, and then just really clean on the other sides with no other controls or knobs except the fabric. We have some cutouts on the bottom for ventilation. So overall construction quality is really good, much better than the price would suggest. It feels like something that may cost, $500 or $600. Very expensive looking hardware. Now there's also a pre-applied screen protector already that tries to prevent it from scratches. Alright, we are going through the initial boot up sequence right now, and it has a very interesting custom animation here with all these dropping, looks like notes that is creating this equalizer, and we're in. So that was very quick. Interface is highly customized, so it looks nothing like regular Android. That could be a good thing since this is primarily going to be used as a speaker in the first place. It just makes controlling things like EQ a lot easier. There's an oversized clock widget, and all of the text and icons just look, again, very classy and similar to the hardware, so everything matches aesthetically. We have a volume knob on the side here that you can use to adjust the volume controls, and again, some of these icons which pop up are definitely Android. One thing to keep in mind is that the screen is still quite glossy, so if you're using this outdoors, it may still struggle a little bit in terms of visibility, but it is an IPS panel, which means viewing angles are pretty wide, the touchscreen is quite sensitive, and one thing I didn't notice before is there are status LEDs which are in this row below the display. So you can see that this is white right now. It means that the speaker is turned on. When it's charging, this light actually turns red on the left. Starting with the widget, I can tap on this alarm button to go into a clock, which is just very stock Android, and I can then switch back and forth between things like timers as well as starting an alarm. Now there's no way to access the traditional Android UI without hacking it or rooting it, so if you press on home, if you go into settings, there's no way to change this launcher. I can also swipe down from the top of the display to take a look at battery, as well as pull down for things like mirrorcasting, take a look at a battery percentage. So these commands are very typical like on any other Android tablet. So visiting the bottom keys now, the first is streaming music, and this will load internet radio services like BBC iPlayer, iHeartRadio, Pandora. If I tap on the plus key, you can actually add from a list here that they give you. So you can tap on stuff like Amazon Prime Music, and it takes a few seconds for it to first download. So for instance, if I want to add this to my list and press on yes, you will confirm a kind of downloading process, and that means only the content that you really use will be installed on the device. So it also implies that right out of the box, you have to take a little bit of time to do some installation. Not all of these apps are pre-installed by default, but at least it's just a tap away. So the interface is very traditional and it runs actually quite well. It's pretty smooth and responsive. As long as your internet connection speed is good, you will have a fairly responsive streaming experience across things like BBC and iHeartRadio that I've tried so far. And in terms of audiobooks, it's basically the same process. I can tap on the plus to add through other sources like Audible, Loyal Books, Nook Audiobooks, etc. Weather forecasts will bring up the AccuWeather app. It will just tell you your city location. You can search through more. It's also going to tell you your current temperature, some basic expectations looking ahead, pollen warning, allergy warning, or daily information at a glance. So this is a pretty nice use scenario, I think, that they have built right on in. Now under the plus is where you can find all of your other applications, and that includes online video, so this is really just YouTube, and you can also tap on home automation, but this is a work in progress. It says coming soon, so it should potentially give you the ability to control things like Google Home appliances, Alexa appliances, and then turn lights and stuff on and off. I do like the design of these switches, but unfortunately, again, it's not functional at this time, so it is a little bit rough around the corners. And finally, under app is where you'll find access to the Google Play Store, including custom radio, streaming services, YouTube, accessing a browser. So if you want to download any content or even some games here and there, yes, you can definitely do that, but you have to just log in through the Play Store, and then you'll be set. For instance, I've downloaded the Stack as a simple game, and yeah, it's definitely functional. I think this is a good game because it's not, very serious. It doesn't require you to actually hold it like a console in your hands. You're just tapping on the display on the top, so even though the screen is on the top of the device, leaning down, maybe on a coffee table, it can still be playable and fairly enjoyable. Again, the screen is pretty responsive and easy to use. Otherwise, in terms of graphics, again, this thing isn't super powerful, so just keep that in mind. Simple apps like this, as well as YouTube, will work, but it's essentially using a MediaTek A33 CPU, which is a quad-core processor clocked at 1.3 gigahertz. It is pretty entry-level even for MediaTek, so you kind of find it also on super budget tablets that maybe are only $40 on Amazon or on Walmart, so it's by no means a powerhouse. Alright, so just closing out some of these apps. Technically, the system is running on Android 4.4 KitKat underneath the skin, so it's, again, a little bit on the outdated side, but again, for the purposes of just being an internet streaming radio and speaker, it is fine. Jumping into YouTube, let's just do a quick sample of what the audio quality is like. Of course, that's the most important thing of the speaker. And the interface here is, again, very typical. Everything works. It's a little bit sluggish here and there with some of the animations, but again, it's functional. You can even do mirror casting if you have a Chromecast in your house, so that still works just fine. Let's tap on play. Thankfully, audio quality is excellent. The bass in particular is super punchy and powerful, especially on an EDM track or bass boosted track. It kind of shakes the entire room. For watching movies, just for listening to music, it definitely packs a huge punch and fills up an entire room without any problems. We were only about at 70% volume there, so it gets even louder, and overall the sound is just very full and rich. Mids and highs are also pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the cleanest or gives you the most detail if you're comparing it with an audiophile grade speaker that might cost more, but overall for this type of device and for the price, I think it does an excellent job. So the last bar over is settings, and this just takes you to regular Android settings, so you can turn on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth functionality, and you can see that if there's any OTA updates. Now, there are a few weaknesses to the speaker that I want to mention. The first being that it doesn't have, again, that home automation part built on in out of the box. So I would have liked to see them install Alexa support or maybe Google Assistant support. I think it's very easy to do because right now, if you want to add that feature, all you need to do is go to the Play Store and download the Alexa app, and and you're essentially done. But I still would have liked to see them install that part for you because I think it's a pretty central feature that's kind of a missed opportunity. The battery life is good, but because it's a MediaTek A33, it's not the most energy efficient chipset. And the 10 hours of battery life I got shy of, especially if you are also using the display. Thankfully, as you saw in our test previously, you can actually turn the display off and the speaker can still be playing back music and sound, which is great. Because if the screen is turned on, there's no way it's getting 10 hours. I'm only getting about 7 to 8 hours if I'm lucky. It also does work while being plugged in, however, so you can still listen to music when it's charging, so that is at least nice to note. And again, the Wi-Fi reception I do think could be a little bit stronger if they want to use this or market it as kind of an outdoor use speaker. If you want to take it around the house, that is an area where the antenna reception could be a little bit better. But I found that performance so far has been quite stable and responsive. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the K2 Hi-Fi internet speaker. I think that it has an outstanding hardware design. The software is a little bit let down compared to that excellent hardware, but then again, it's only $200, which for the price and the performance of the sound, I think is very much worthwhile. It's not quite as mainstream, and it's probably not going to appeal to as many folks as just a regular Amazon Alexa or a cheaper internet radio. But if you want something that's very interesting looking, has a lot of potential because it has an Android computer on the top for you to run more applications, and down the road you're willing to tweak it and kind of customize it, and again, it does have a ton of features that you can check out. It could be worth taking a closer look at, maybe as a gift in this holiday season. So you can learn more details in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Sonic Grace K2 Hi-Fi wireless streaming speaker.